A big hello to fellow teachers. Welcome to the Eduwell Podcast, a show created for teachers, by teachers, with teachers. I'm Alex Bush.
And I'm Chelsea Henderson. With over 30 years of combined teaching experience, we're here to help you find balance in your professional and personal lives.
Join us as we dive into a well of information, exploring insights, strategies, and practical tips that you can apply both within and beyond your classroom.
So whether you're new to teaching or a seasoned expert, this podcast is for you. Let's be well
and do well
together. Welcome back to Eduwell, everyone. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Alex.
Have you ever stopped to think about why you need rest? Or do you just have so many things going on that you find it pretty hard to think about anything except what's right in front of you? We are sure that you already know that you need rest in your life, teachers, all throughout the school year, but especially at the end. We know you are exhausted. But here's the thing. With rest, sometimes comes the feeling of guilt or the I shouldn't take this time to rest. But we are here today to tell you that you deserve rest very much. So today we're going to dive into the well to have a conversation around 3 highly significant reasons why you deserve your rest. We deserve rest for our own well-being. We require rest for productivity, and we need rest to show up for others because this is what we do. So let's dive in, Alex. What do you say?
I say it's June. I am very tired. I am craving a lot of rest, and to have a conversation with you around reasons and justifications for why we need rest might be really good for both of us and maybe listeners, so that rest can, instead of being put on the back burner, we can prioritize rest and make rest into something that we place on that beautiful pedestal, prioritizing rest. So I'm ready. I am ready to dive into this one.
All right, so let's get right into it. First of all, we need to rest for ourselves. Now, we know that rest is important to our health, of course. It helps our bodies and our minds recharge and heal. And of course, we are not doctors. We are just really tired teachers who have experimented with rest and who really know the significance of it.
Very true. I don't even have a degree in biology, Chelsea.
That's okay.
That's okay. So I think we've both kind of been on both ends of it, whether it be at a point in our lives where we were getting very little rest, or points in our lives where we adjusted that. We have talked about this a lot, so that's why I'm saying we. And we have a level of compare and contrast to what it feels like to get very little rest all the time, and for that to end up catching up with you and kind of, negatively impacting you, to now where rest is being prioritized more and just seeing the major benefits of it. So tell me a little bit more about this topic, about resting for yourself, for your health.
Okay, so along with the recharging and the healing, we know that when we rest, our bodies can regain that energy, can also repair tissues and strengthen our immune system even, and those are often sleep related. And this really applies to me right now because, as you can hear, my voice is pretty nasally. I have a cold right now. It's one of those colds that's just taking all of my energy. It's just making me really tired. Now, it's the weekend, so I was able to say no to the things that I had to do on the weekend and just be on the couch watching, not so educational, but highly entertaining TV so that I could get the rest that I need, because this cold is demanding rest. So yeah, I had to talk to my family. I had to let people know that I have to take this time for myself so that I can come back recharged from this.
So a few things that you said there that really kind of sparked something in me was that you kind of preemptively asked people for what it was that you needed in that moment to kind of build yourself that buffer time to get ready. I think we were talking in another episode just about how when we ask for what we need, how surprising it can be that our family, friends, whomever steps up and is supportive. I think that's fantastic. And then the other piece that I just kind of want to mention is that we are in helping careers. And so a trick that I've started using to encourage my own self to get rest is to ask myself, what would a friend tell you to do? And I challenge people to ask themselves, what would a friend tell you to do? Because we tend to be very hard on ourselves and not always give ourselves what we need. But when it comes to a conversation with a friend, we would always encourage a friend to take care of their own needs, to put the oxygen mask on first, to prioritize rest because we care about that friend. So we have to turn that same attitude back towards ourselves and make sure that we're giving ourselves that advice to take the time that we need to kind of recoup when things get really busy. And by the way, Chelsea, it's June. Did I say that already?
It's June.
Yeah, it's June. And so the need for rest is much higher. It's a beautiful time of year. The sun is shining. We have daylight way later, and that should be feeding us. And yet a lot of my colleagues that I've kind of spoken with based on conversations, I would say that everyone is really pittered out. Like the need for rest is really high. The need to just stop and slow down is at an all-time high.
It is. And with the end of the year comes that pressure to wrap everything up, to get those report cards done. So let's say you do have a cold, like I do right now. You want to get your work done, but it's harder to get your work done when you're not feeling like yourself. And then that leads to stress. So we can try to remember, maybe just more throughout the year, I know it's just really tough at the end of the year, that it's okay to think about yourself, and it's necessary. And it's okay to be what I like to refer to as self more, giving yourself a little bit more time for yourself. Being busy can be great, but it's hard to sustain without regular rejuvenation. So, as contradictory as it might sound, whether you want to speed up or slow down, relaxation is absolutely consequential for both.
I know about you, Chelsea, but sometimes towards the end of the year, I'm so frazzled that I'm not ending on my best note. And that is a fear that I have as a teacher, that the last memories aren't going to be ones of calm and relaxation and warmth, but of being frazzled, frustrated, and just wanting the year to end, right? So I think that rest for productivity is also really important.
Yes, and especially important right now at the end of the year. I mean, we are living in a world where busyness can be mistaken for productivity. We don't want that happening right now. I mean, I've tried to do so many things at once and then I don't get anything done. So you'll learn from those experiences. So again, it's that the slower you go, the faster you go. I would get this advice from my husband and I would say, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm busy. I have to get things done. But the more I slow down and the more I concentrate on one thing, two things, let's face it, we're concentrating on a lot of things at work and even at home. But when you kind of get more intentional and you slow down, it is true. The slower you go, the faster you go. And they're tough words to live by as a teacher because the to-do list is never ending. But the sooner we can accept that, the sooner we can feel more comfortable with getting that rest into our lives daily. So we have to examine the tasks and the activities, like I said, that are in our basket, which we talk about. And then we need to decide what to keep or what to kibosh so that we can make room for rest. I mean, let me tell you, I do a lot of rushing. And in doing so, I make a lot of mistakes. And then I have to go back and correct those mistakes. So it's kind of a waste of time. So when I slow down and I don't pile on too many tasks, then I can prevent those mistakes from happening.
I am the queen of flitting around when there are a ton of tasks to accomplish. I jump from one thing to the next, and it's not an organized list on a piece of paper that is organizing me forward. It is my brain. What about this? What about that? And there is no beginning, middle, end completion. So I'm never feeling that accomplishment feeling. And you had given me that one-liner, the slower you go, the faster you go. And I'm so tired that it took me a really long time to wrap my brain around that one. But I started self-talking that one and saying it to myself and being very conscious of how I was using my brain and how I was using my body to accomplish the tasks, and really hunkering down on the to-do list or on what needed to be accomplished. And I did notice a marked difference, but it took a lot of concentration to kind of quiet the mind that jumps in and says, oh, you got to email this person. Oh, you got to email that person. You've got to clean this up. You've got to call this person. I had to really focus and almost reset the way that I do things, because I operate well in organized chaos. Back from my waitressing days, that's been very helpful for me. And I can be efficient running like that, just so you know. But when there's a real time crunch, the slower you go, the faster you go. So shout out to your husband who gave you really good advice. And it's
Yeah.
tampering my flit. The flit is going to, I'm trying to think of a good alliteration here. The flit is floundering, but the slower you go, leads to some more self more. Ooh.
Oh, good job. On the spot. Improv. Very impressive. Good teaching skills. All right, let's jump into the third reason why rest is so important. Well, for others, of course. Once again, we are in the business of people. So from Monday to Friday, we're working with very important people. These are people of the future, I like to call them. These are the people who will become our doctors and our nurses, and they'll build our homes and they'll own businesses, people who are going to vote and be our leaders, people who depend on us right now. So our work is really important. This is our future. So every new school year, I believe I mentioned this in our first episode, I ask students to complete a form that contains the question, what will you expect from me as your teacher? And the most common answer I get is, I expect that you will help me. But that's not just with academics. We help them with so much more. As you said, we are in a helping profession. We've talked about that human giver syndrome. Like, let's consider the 6 C's, right? We've got character, citizenship, creativity, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. So we're helping them to be and to learn all of these things. That's a big ask. And it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of self-regulation on our own part to help them develop these skills. And we know it's a difficult job to do when you are physically and mentally exhausted. So, of course, that saying comes to mind, you can't pour from an empty cup.
I love that saying. So very true. I think that's going to be another one that I start saying to myself in my head when I'm trying to like do everything and not eating lunch because of it, going to bed late because of it,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you're saying the students expect us to help them and that's their expectation. But as you were saying that, I was thinking, yeah, it's not just our students that expect us to help them. The parents expect us to help them. The school administration have an expectation that we help out within the school community. Our colleagues have an expectation that we are helping out. And I take all of those opportunities very seriously. But there's just that pressure where we have this human, what do we call it, Chelsea? The giver syndrome. We're in such a giving profession that it's very easy for us to not give to ourselves. And then, the other piece of that is that this is going to be rest for others, the one that we can sell the most. Because rest for health and rest for productivity. Rest for productivity might, make people go ding, ding, ding. But if you can't be motivated by the millions of reasons for rest, because you're someone who's so used to giving to others, if you kind of reframe it and think about it like you're not doing it for yourself, even though you should be self more, of course. Love that term, Chelsea. That's a good one. Maybe you're doing it for others because, once again, you cannot help other people on the plane until you put the oxygen mask on yourself. So you prioritize rest for yourself so that you are able to show up in the best possible way for others. Because if you can't do it for you, I can promise you, based on some very tangible experiences in my life, when I am worn down, I am not able to show up in the spaces that I'm expected to show up in. I'm not showing up with my best foot forward, and my heart isn't in it as full as it could be. However, when I am fully rested, putting my own needs first and making sure that I'm ready to show up with full heart and rested, I am more effective. I am more caring as a teacher. I am a problem solver, and I am able to just do it the best way that I can in the moment. right? Whenever I say my best, I don't mean we always have to be on our total A game. I'm just as a whole, like, walking forward in a good way. Let's say it like that. Because best is very superlative, like good, better, best. I'm not comparing myself or anything like that. I just want to show up in the best. I said it again. Show up in a good way. And the last thing I just kind of want to add to this is that, we are in the business of people, like you said, and we're building the future. And we want our students to have well-rounded, balanced lives. And we want to make sure that for our own families and for our students, that as teachers and as women, that we are modeling taking care of ourselves and not building that culture where we attach busy, busy, busy with, being important, or stress, stress, stress with being important. Like, we don't want people suffering with the ailments that come with over busyness, over stress, and under rest.
I think we can relate it to going into the classroom. And we know that students feed off of our energy when we are significantly exhausted or stressed or overwhelmed. That shows up. It shows up in most people.
And I think that we need to kind of mention that in schools today, we're dealing with teacher shortages, occasional teacher shortages, some violence in the schools, and a long list of different things that make it much more challenging to reach rest, to reach wellness, to reach, a state where we are able to take care of ourselves, because the pressures right now are really high, and the spaces that some of us work in are incredibly challenging and have become more challenging over the past 5 years.
Fully agreed. There are external pressures that are deeply affecting the rest that we are getting, which is why we really need to try extra hard to prioritize ourselves so that we can optimize our well-being.
You're the only person who can do it. I mean, we've talked about this. You can have all the best knowledge in the world. You can read every book on, being healthy, being productive, being happy, whatever it may be, but you have to take the steps towards that. And that is the one piece that you can control, because there are a lot of other pieces that are going on right now in education that feel out of control. Okay, Chelsea, remember earlier in the podcast where I said, what would you tell a friend? And the advice, that you would give a friend, you should give to yourself. Well, I'm going to give you a little piece of feedback right now. And that is that I can definitely hear that you have this cold that you referred to. And while you look fantastic, you look a little bit like you might need rest. Do you see how I said that really nicely?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think if I'm a good friend to you right now, I would tell you to prioritize some rest so that you can get back to, walking forward in the way that you want to walk forward. And so I hope that you find some beautiful, options to seek rest, because as we know from all these episodes, rest can look like a million different things. For some, it's a walk in the forest. For some, it's reading a book. For some, it's having a beautiful, restful, calming conversation.
Well, thank you. And I think it's so important that we hear that from our friends, from our colleagues, because it gives you that permission. Not that you need permission from others, but it is really nice to get that assurance when someone says, hey, it's okay for you to take a rest. I think that is a great thing to do for our friends, for family, for colleagues, because it just relieves a little bit of pressure. So I will take that rest, Alex. Thank you.
I am so happy to hear that. With that, I think that we should move forward into our takeaways. So 1, rest for your health. Prioritize self-care and rejuvenation to maintain personal well-being.
2, rest for productivity. Understand that taking breaks and recharging is crucial for sustaining any kind of productivity levels.
And 3, rest for others. Recognize the importance of resting to be present and supportive for those around you. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Don't forget to share this episode out to others, especially if you know someone in need of rest. Join us in the next episode of EduWell, where we will explore ideas on how to get some of that precious rest into our lives. Until then, teachers, be well
and do well.